Welcome back to Fascinating History. Today we'll travel back to the golden 20th century and reveal the chilling horror of the Vietnam War. In the heart of one of the most turbulent chapters of the 20th century, there lies a story that's as gripping as it is unsettling. The conflict spanned decades, shaped generations, and altered the course of nations. But there are chilling tales hidden in the shadows beyond the headlines and battles. Today, we unravel one such account, a story that transcends weaponry and tactics, reaching into the souls of those who lived through it. As we embark on this exploration, we'll delve into the heart of darkness and uncover the harrowing truth behind one of the most notorious aspects of the Vietnam War.
These very intelligent men really thought that it was the beginning of the communist takeover of the world.
From weapon malfunctions that turned soldiers' lives into a nightmare to the haunting questions that still linger today. So, are you ready to peel back the layers of history and discover what made the Vietnam War truly terrifying? Stick around and you'll find out. And comment down below what other parts of history you'd like us to cover. Battle of Ia Drang. The Vietnam War is one of the most bone-chilling conflicts in history, largely due to the harrowing experiences of those who fought in the heart of the Vietnamese jungles. These rainforest-dense, unforgiving terrain created a living nightmare for soldiers. Imagine trudging through mud-soaked terrain with sponges and other pesky critters clinging to you at every step. The relentless heat and humidity were unrelenting, sapping your strength and dehydrating you. Imagine being soaked to the bone, drained and uncomfortable 24/7, a constant battle against nature and the enemy, amplifying the terror. Add the ever-present danger of booby traps, explosives, and ambushes. Every move you make was a potential hazard, demanding hypervigilance. One wrong step and disaster could strike. The sheer unpredictability of when and where the enemy would strike intensified the psychological trauma of the conflict. And then there was the night. The jungle's darkness created a surreal, eerie dimension of horror. Imagine being plunged into pitch-black surroundings, unable to see more than a few feet ahead. It was a breeding ground for close-quarters combat where identifying friends from foes was often impossible. The psychological strain of navigating this pitch-black hell only deepened the terror that gnawed at the soldiers. The Battle of Ia Drang was a microcosm of the Vietnam War's terrifying nature. Bad guns. It's the 1960s, and the M16 is touted as a game-changer for American troops. It's supposed to be lighter, more accurate, and have less recoil than the clunky M14 rifle. On paper, it sounds like a dream come true for soldiers in the jungles of Vietnam. But reality, as they say, can be a cruel wake-up call. The M16's Achilles heel was its ammunition. Instead of using tried-and-true gunpowder, the military opted for ball powder to save a few bucks. It sounds like a cost-effective choice. Well, it turned out to be a nightmare in the field. Picture you're a soldier in Vietnam's thick, unforgiving terrain, and your M16 jams during a firefight. Panic sets in because your lifeline just failed you. This wasn't an isolated incident. Soldiers were grappling with jammed M16s far too often, putting their lives on the line. In the chaos of battle, they had to figure out how to clear their rifles when every second counted. Desperation led some to grab enemy AK-47s, renowned for their reliability, just to stay in the fight. Can you imagine the frustration and fear gripping these soldiers? These weapon malfunctions didn't just compromise their safety, they gnawed at their morale. It was a terrifying ordeal, and the scars it left were more than just physical. As the crisis escalated, calls for investigations and improvements echoed through the ranks. But here's the painful truth. The widespread adoption of the faulty M16 had already exposed countless troops to unnecessary danger. The damage was done. Eventually, the issues with the M16 were addressed and newer versions became more reliable. But the damage to the soldiers' trust and the government's credibility had already been done. The troublesome M16 wasn't just a weapon malfunction, but a symbol of the Vietnam War's mishandling, a stark reminder of the price paid in lives and lost faith. A hidden enemy. In the dense jungles of Vietnam, a formidable enemy lurked, the Viet Cong, or as they were officially known, the National Liberation Front. These insurgents were not your typical adversary. They were a shadowy force that struck fear into the hearts of American and South Vietnamese troops. But what made them truly terrifying? The Viet Cong were masters of guerrilla warfare, experts at using the environment to their advantage. They knew those jungles like the back of their hand, effortlessly blending into the terrain, making it almost impossible for their enemies to spot them. It was like trying to catch a ghost in the mist. Picture American and South Vietnamese forces desperately searching for an enemy they could hardly see. The Viet Cong's hit-and-run tactics were their trademark move. They'd strike swiftly and vanish before you could blink, leaving their opponents frustrated and bewildered. This constant state of uncertainty and unpredictability haunted the US troops, but it didn't end there. The Viet Cong were masters of disguise. American soldiers were already on edge, struggling to tell friend from foe. The Viet Cong often masquerades as innocent villagers, blurring the line between civilians and combatants. This psychological warfare played a significant role in the minds of American soldiers, heightening their paranoia. Now, let's talk about the Tet Offensive of 1968, a pivotal moment showcasing the Viet Cong's prowess. It was a coordinated series of surprise attacks sweeping across South Vietnam. They infiltrated cities and towns, catching American forces completely off guard. It was a wake-up call that shattered the illusion of an imminent US victory. The shockwaves of these attacks rippled back to the United States, igniting a wave of anti-war sentiment. In the heart of the jungle, the Viet Cong thrived in their cloak of mystery and terror, leaving a lasting mark on the Vietnam War that can never be forgotten. Tunnel Rats. The Tunnel Rats were a group of remarkable soldiers who braved the depths of Vietnam's secret underground warren. These tunnels were more than just holes in the ground, they were marvels of guerrilla warfare engineering, stretching for miles beneath the Earth's surface, concealing an intricate world of peril and survival. There were miles of pitch-black, claustrophobic passageways hidden deep underground. The tunnels served as multi-purpose sanctuaries for the Viet Cong, providing shelter, secret highways, and storage for their supplies and weapons. They even doubled as launch pads for surprise attacks, a sinister game of hide-and-seek with US forces. Now, the Tunnel Rats weren't your average soldiers. They were hand-picked for their smaller stature, an advantage that allowed them to squeeze through the narrow and stifling tunnels. Armed with only a flashlight and a sidearm, they ventured into this eerie darkness, knowing that at any turn they might face enemy fighters, deadly booby traps, or venomous creatures like snakes and spiders. Their missions were an intense dance with danger. In these confined spaces, they engaged in close-quarters combat with the enemy, where every step had to be precise to stay alive. Imagine the fear of ambushes and the constant anticipation of what lurked around the next bend, all while navigating this underground labyrinth. The conditions inside those tunnels were nothing short of a nightmare. The air was thin and the darkness oppressive. Every breath felt like a struggle in the tunnels, and the ever-present threat of booby traps and explosives kept the Tunnel Rat's heart racing. The tunnels themselves were a constant hazard, prone to collapse at any moment. But despite these daunting challenges, the Tunnel Rats were unsung heroes, vital in disrupting Viet Cong operations and gathering crucial intelligence. Their bravery and unwavering dedication under such dire circumstances showcase the extraordinary sacrifices made by countless soldiers during the Vietnam War. It's a testament to how far individuals were willing to go to fulfill their duty and protect their comrades, even when that meant descending into darkness. Ghosts of the Jungle. Imagine being a soldier amid the dense, unforgiving jungles of Vietnam, far away from home and constantly fearing for your life. Now, add another layer of terror, the belief in wandering spirits, or ma ki, deeply ingrained in Vietnamese culture. These spirits were said to roam the earth if they hadn't received proper burial rites or had suffered unjust deaths. Little did these soldiers know, the United States military was about to exploit this belief sinisterly through Operation Wandering Soul. Operation Wandering Soul wasn't your typical wartime strategy. It involved creating fake audio recordings blasted through loudspeakers mounted on helicopters or ground-based equipment. These recordings were designed to be haunting, featuring eerie sounds like the wailing of tormented souls, people crying out in pain, and the voices of grieving relatives, all delivered in Vietnamese. But the most unsettling part? The messages in Vietnamese urged enemy soldiers to abandon their cause and return to their families before it was too late. Now, picture you're a soldier deep in the jungle, fighting a guerrilla war against an elusive enemy, and suddenly, you hear these eerie recordings echoing through the trees. It's the dead of night, and the psychological horror intensifies a terrifying situation. You're battling physical danger and facing the constant fear of vengeful spirits lurking in the shadows. While Operation Wandering Soul may not have led to mass surrenders, its psychological impact cannot be underestimated. It added a new dimension of fear to the already stressful war environment. This operation showcased the power of psychological warfare, blurring the lines between reality and superstition. It demonstrated that in the grim landscape of war, the psychological battlefield can be just as critical as the physical one. So, would you have survived the war? And which part of the war do you find the most terrifying? Please let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to like and share. Also, hit the subscribe button to get notifications on the latest uploads on the channel. As always, see you in the following video.